Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine a world where time travel isn't really about, you know, the grand adventures or saving pivotal moments in history.
Right, or even preventing disasters.
Exactly. Instead, it's about navigating the surprisingly mundane, often darkly humorous, and intensely bureaucratic realities of history, literally crashing into the present.
Hmm.
That's the truly fascinating, kind of genre-bending premise of the book we're taking a deep dive into today.
It really is.
It's a novel that takes a concept we think we know inside out, time travel, and just twists it into something incredibly fresh, insightful, and profoundly resonant with our current world.
Indeed, we're taking a deep dive into the recent buzz surrounding Kaliane Bradley's 2024 speculative fiction novel, The Ministry of Time.
Yeah.
And like you said, this isn't just a simple book review. It's a thorough exploration of how this really inventive story uses a familiar sci-fi concept to delve into remarkably timely and complex themes.
Hmm.
It blends genres in a way that genuinely sets it apart,
Yeah.
defying easy categorization and offering so much more than just surface-level entertainment.
Our mission today, then, is to pull out the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from, well, from the critical reception around this book.
Okay.
We won't just summarize the plot, definitely not. Instead, we'll dive into its unique take on speculative fiction, its razor-sharp wit, its surprising emotional depth, and what it implicitly suggests about our own evolving relationship with history, memory, and identity.
Yeah, understanding the why.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want to understand why this book is generating so much excitement and what makes it such a compelling and thought-provoking read, the kind that really stays with you long after the final page.
And whether you're deeply curious about innovative genre-bending fiction, or you're looking for those aha moments that illuminate historical context and, contemporary societal issues.
Right.
Or maybe you're simply eager for a compelling story that challenges conventional narratives, this deep dive promises insights that will absolutely make you rethink time, power, and that profound human need for belonging.
It sounds like it asks the big questions.
It does. It's a book that fearlessly asks big, important questions, but it does so in a way that's completely engaging, often hilarious, and deeply moving.
So what truly sets this premise apart and where it gets incredibly thought-provoking is the nature of the time travel itself.
Mm-hmm.
The book imagines an alternate present where the British government has developed this top-secret program aptly named the Ministry of Time.
Aptly named indeed. Very British.
Very. And this isn't some clandestine operation for altering timelines or a secret mission to prevent historical
Yeah,
paradoxes.
there are no grand designs like that.
Or even just, benign observation from afar. Instead, it's something far more grounded and, frankly, steeped in a very British form of bureaucracy.
That's precisely it. The operation's core function is to bring select historical figures, known as expats, into the modern world to study them.
Expats, wow.
Yeah. And this immediately distinguishes it from almost every traditional time travel narrative you've likely encountered, where protagonists might jump back to, I don't know, save a dinosaur or prevent a war.
Right, the usual tropes.
Here, the historical figures are forcibly displaced, plucked from their own timelines and brought forward into our time. They are, in essence, subjected to this ongoing, highly controlled experiment.
Sounds uncomfortable.
Deeply. It's framed as an anthropological and sociological exercise, almost like creating a living museum, but with actual sentient human beings as the exhibits.
Not artifacts, people.
Exactly. Not a thrilling, action-packed adventure. And this setup immediately raises profound and unsettling ethical questions for you, the listener, about consent, autonomy, the very nature of historical study when it becomes so chillingly literal.
Yeah, are these expats prisoners?
Yeah.
Guests,
Yeah, no.
specimens.
Precisely. Or something else entirely. The core insight here, I think, is that study, when coupled with an immense power imbalance, can very easily slip into exploitation. And that forces us to reevaluate how we approach history and maybe even our interactions with each other right now, in the present.
And central to this whole bizarre yet weirdly, oddly plausible setup is our narrator. She's an unnamed British-Cambodian civil servant.
Right?
She's tasked with being a bridge, which is truly unique and, you'd imagine, demanding role within this bizarre bureaucratic framework.
A bridge. That's an interesting term for it.
Isn't it? Think of it as a comprehensive support position, but like way more intense than any HR induction you've ever
I
experienced.
can only imagine.
She's a caretaker responsible for the daily well-being of these time-displaced individuals. She's a translator not just of language, but crucially of culture, trying to bridge that vast chasm between centuries.
Which must be immense.
Immense. She's a constant cultural guide for these incredibly disoriented historical figures. It sounds almost mundane, doesn't it? A civil servant dealing with time travelers.
Yeah, the juxtaposition is stark.
But that very mundanity, that bureaucratic banality, is part of the novel's genius, I think. It grounds the fantastical in a chillingly relatable reality.
And her primary assignment, which really forms the narrative's emotional core, is with Commander Graham Gore.
Okay, Graham Gore.
He's a real-life 19th century Arctic explorer who tragically perished on the doomed Franklin expedition.
Ah, the Franklin expedition, right. That's a heavy historical anchor.
It really is. And this choice of historical figure is quite intentional, deeply symbolic. Gore represents a specific kind of historical archetype, the stoic, adventurous, yet ultimately vulnerable explorer from an era defined by, grand empire, daring expeditions into the unknown.
And a certain rigid social code, presumably?
Absolutely. Linking the story directly to the Franklin expedition immediately brings in themes of exploration, endurance against impossible odds, and significantly unintended and disastrous consequences.
Echoes of the ministry's work, maybe?
Precisely. Parallels that the novel cleverly draws to the ministry's own endeavors. It's a subtle yet powerful nod to how even the most well-intentioned or scientifically driven missions can go horribly awry, creating new forms of tragedy or ethical dilemmas.
So as the narrator and Commander Gore spend time together, this complex, evolving relationship starts to form.
Yeah.
It's far more than just professional, right? Not just a handler in her charge. It blossoms into something deeply personal, a connection that develops in unexpected ways as they navigate this surreal, isolating situation together.
And it's the beating heart of the story, really.
It sounds like it.
And both characters grapple significantly with their respective roles and, well, the overwhelming realities of their new lives.
In different ways, I imagine.
Completely. The narrator, despite being from the present, struggles profoundly with her own fractured sense of belonging.
Ah, okay.
It's a vulnerability tied to her mixed-race background and her sort of liminal status in contemporary society. She also battles with the deeply murky ethics of the very ministry she works for, increasingly questioning the morality of the system she facilitates.
So she's conflicted internally, too.
Very much so. This internal conflict, her ethical quandaries and search for identity, it mirrors the profound disorientation of the expats.
That's powerful.
It creates this powerful sense of shared human vulnerability, connecting their seemingly disparate struggles across vast stretches of time and cultural background. It really forces you, the listener, to consider what it means to belong or not belong in a world that constantly shifts beneath your feet.
Whether that shift is temporal, cultural, or personal.
Exactly. It highlights how universal the feeling of being an outsider can be.
Meanwhile, you've got Commander Gore. He's plunged headfirst into a world that is completely alien to him. A hyper-connected, politically cynical, climate-anxious 21st century.
Imagine the shock, just whiplash.
Total whiplash. Imagine the visceral shock of someone from the mid-19th century suddenly having access to the internet, where all human knowledge is supposedly at their fingertips.
Or we're just seeing a smartphone.
Right. Smartphones, global news feeds delivering instant catastrophes, and a complete reversal of the social norms and gender roles they once knew. It's not just grappling with new technology.
No, it's his whole worldview.
His entire understanding of power, empire, progress, even basic societal structures is fundamentally upended. You can almost picture him trying to make sense of a viral meme.
Or grappling with the concept of instant global communication when he's used to letters taking months.
Exactly. Or the sheer horror of a warming planet after he himself was consumed by ice.
And this shared struggle for adaptation, despite them being from vastly different eras, creates a profoundly relatable core to the story.
Yeah, that connection.
It allows the book to explore these universal feelings of displacement, cultural shock, and the fundamental human process of finding one's place, regardless of historical context.
Gore's struggle must be so vivid.
Incredibly vivid. His struggle to comprehend a world where, like you said, a small glowing device holds all knowledge, or where the vast unyielding ice he once knew is rapidly disappearing. It serves as a powerful mirror to the narrator's own internal sense of not quite fitting in, even in her home time.
So their journeys parallel each other.
In a way, yes. Their mutual journey of adaptation, even with completely different starting points, powerfully highlights the deeply human need for connection, understanding, and empathy in a world that can feel increasingly disorienting for everyone. It asks, how do we make sense of change, whether personal or epical?
And it's not just them, right? Beyond our central duo, the ministry is populated by this truly diverse and apparently often hilarious cast of historical expats.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking figures from poets to pirates, all grappling in their own unique ways with displacement and the sheer absurdities of modern life.
It's a whole collection of fish out of water.
A whole aquarium.
Mm.
It's not just Commander Gore who's bewildered, it's a whole collection of fascinating individuals, each ripped from their historical contexts, struggling to make sense of our world.
And their interactions add these rich layers of wry humor, biting satire, and additional, often surprising perspectives on culture shock.
Gives you different angles.
Totally. It's not solely Gore's experience that shapes the narrative. It's a vibrant tapestry of how incredibly varied historical mindsets react to our current world. For instance, the review hints at a prickly 17th century swordsman,
Oh, okay. Picture that.
accustomed to duels and strict social hierarchies, navigating crowded public transport. Imagine his disdain for personal space, casual dress codes, the utter chaos of a rush hour commute.
Hilarious. And probably terrifying for everyone else.
Probably. Or a charismatic female pirate, used to commanding a ship and living by her own code, trying to understand the nuanced and often baffling dynamics of modern corporate power structure.
That's a novel in itself right there.
It really could be. Each expat's reaction offers this unique and often comedic lens through which to view our own contemporary society, frequently exposing its inherent absurdities and hypocrisies.
So they're not just jokes.
Not at all. These characters aren't merely comedic relief. They serve to broaden the novel's scope, showing the myriad ways individuals can be dislocated and how resilient or maybe stubbornly resistant the human spirit can be in the face of radical, incomprehensible change.
Makes you think how you'd cope.
Absolutely. It powerfully makes you wonder how you would fare if suddenly dropped into the year 2300 or even 1700.
But here's where the laughter and fascinating cultural observations begin to give way to something, well, more unsettling.
The shift.
Just when you settle into this world of quirky historical figures and bureaucratic mishaps, the novel subtly shifts gears. You start to sense this chilling undercurrent, a question lurking beneath the surface. What are they really doing with these people?
Yeah, is purely academic?
Is it driven by a thirst for knowledge? Or is something far more profound, perhaps even sinister, at play within the ministry itself?
This transition from comedic absurdity to unsettling speculative suspense is absolutely crucial to the novel's depth and its ultimate impact.
It sounds like it raises the stakes.
Completely. It signals to you, the reader, that the novel isn't just a lighthearted romp through history with a few laughs. It has serious and uncomfortable questions to ask about power, control, manipulation, and the potential for scientific inquiry to morph into something far more troubling.
So the initial premise is almost deceptive.
In a way, the initial premise might seem amusing or merely clever, but as the layers of the ministry's operations peel back, the true implications of its actions become increasingly unsettling. This masterful shift in tone keeps you on your toes, transforming a seemingly whimsical idea into something with genuine stakes, moral complexity, and a disturbing plausibility.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Beyond just the inventive premise, the writing itself sounds like a huge draw here. Kaliane Bradley's prose is described as sardonic, incisive, and often hilarious.
Yes.
How does that particular style, that sharp wit, actually elevate the story beyond just being entertaining? What does it do for the reader and for those deeper themes the book explores?
That's a fantastic question because the prose is truly where Bradley shines. What's fascinating here is the critical comparison points that reviews make. Her writing is said to be reminiscent of writers like Douglas Adams or Susanna Clarke.
Wow, that's high praise, Adams and Clarke.
It really is. Think about Douglas Adams for the sheer wit, the brilliant absurdity, and the way he so cleverly lampoons bureaucracy and human foibles with that uniquely British sensibility.
Right, Hitchhiker's Guide style.
Exactly. Then consider Susanna Clarke, maybe Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell for her grounded, meticulous world building and the way she integrates magic or the fantastical into a very real historical setting with a sense of literary gravitas.
Okay, I see the blend.
But crucially, the review notes that Bradley's style is more grounded in contemporary political unease.
Ah, so it's got teeth for today.
Absolutely. This powerful blend is what makes the voice so distinctive and incredibly relevant. It's not just funny for funny's sake. The humor often serves to highlight the very real anxieties of our current world, from climate change to political cynicism to the absurdities of modern life. It makes the satire incredibly sharp, poignant, and deeply resonant. The humor isn't a distraction. It's actually a vehicle for insight.
That sharpness sounds crucial, especially for tackling heavier themes without feeling preachy or, getting too dense.
Definitely.
Does that blend of humor and seriousness make the book more accessible to a wider audience, maybe? Or does it require a certain appreciation for that dry wit? It seems like this dry satire keeps the book incredibly lively,
It does.
making even those weighty topics feel engaging and accessible.
It definitely broadens its appeal. This dry satire keeps the book lively and immensely readable, preventing it from feeling like an academic treatise, despite its profound themes.
Right. Not a textbook.
Not at all. Instead, it feels like an intimate conversation with a really clever friend. One who can make you laugh out loud while simultaneously making you think deeply about complex issues.
That's the sweet spot.
It's that delicate, finely tuned balance between entertainment and intellectual stimulation that makes it such a compelling and memorable read. The laughter acts as a kind of relief valve, allowing you to process the deeper implications and ethical dilemmas without feeling overwhelmed. It fosters a truly enjoyable experience of grappling with complex ideas. It's an intellectual journey that never feels like work.
And driving all of this emotional power, underpinning the entire narrative, is the voice of the narrator herself, described as sharp, vulnerable, and deeply observant.
Yes, her voice is key.
You truly feel like you're experiencing these strange, unprecedented events through the eyes of someone intelligent, empathetic, and profoundly relatable. Her observations, her nuanced internal monologues, her deeply human reactions to gore and the ministry's quirks, that's what grounds the fantastical elements, right?
Completely. She's not just a passive observer recounting events. Her inner world is as rich, as complex, and as compelling as the external bizarre world she's trying to navigate.
So her perspective is crucial.
This deep observation and nuanced inner life from the narrator is absolutely key because it allows the novel to delve into its complex themes without ever getting bogged down in exposition or feeling didactic.
Makes it land better.
Exactly. Her emotional core makes the intellectual points land with far greater impact. It's through her eyes, through her unique lens and deeply thoughtful perspective that the larger questions about history, identity, and ethics truly resonate with the reader.
And her vulnerability helps.
Her vulnerability makes her relatable and draws you in, while her sharpness ensures that no absurdity, no subtle injustice, no ethical dilemma goes unexamined. It pulls you right into the heart of the story's complexities. She feels like a genuine companion on this strange journey.
Now, let's really unpack one of the central pillars of this novel. Moving from the characters to the broader canvas, another incredibly significant element the novel grapples with, and a critical point that grounds the speculative fiction in real-world history and contemporary discussions, is Britain's imperial past.
Yes, that looms large.
The book doesn't shy away from looking at the profound shadows of history. In fact, it brings them into sharp, uncomfortable relief.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the time travel element quite literally literalizes the uncomfortable presence of history in the present.
This is unavoidable.
Totally. It's far more than just a metaphor. It's an actual physical, undeniable confrontation with the past in the very real form of these displaced individuals. This raises an incredibly important and timely question for you, the listener.
Which is?
How do we, as a society, particularly a post-colonial society, confront and reckon with our historical legacies, especially those that are deeply uncomfortable, when they're personified, given voice, and brought into our current day?
It's one thing to read about it.
Exactly. It's one thing to read about colonialism in a textbook or discuss it abstractly. But what happens when a figure from that very era, embodying the values, prejudices, and mindset of that time, is suddenly sitting across the table from you, forcing you to engage directly?
That's intense.
And the ministry itself, with its very British governmental context, can be seen as a chilling continuation of a certain imperialist mindset attempting to control, categorize, and even the past, essentially colonizing time itself.
Wow, colonizing time. That's a phrase.
It's a profound and often unsettling mirror held up to our own historical engagement.
And this theme of identity and belonging, it hits incredibly close to home for the narrator herself, right? Making her a vital conduit for this exploration.
Absolutely. Her own mixed-race background and liminal statuses directly mirror the profound disorientation experienced by the expats.
So she gets it on some level.
She does. She herself exists in a space between cultures, which grants her a unique and deeply empathetic understanding for Commander Gore and the other displaced historical figures. She understands what it feels like to not quite fit in, even in your own time.
Which connects back to what you said earlier.
Precisely. What's truly fascinating here is how the story becomes as much about personal as temporal displacement. It explores the universal human need for belonging, for a place to call home, regardless of whether you're displaced by centuries, by different cultures, or by deeply personal circumstances.
It asks that big question.
It does. How do you define and reclaim your identity when your world, your understanding of yourself, or even your very sense of self is constantly shifting and being challenged?
That feels very contemporary, too.
Very. The narrator's internal struggle with her own identity, feeling neither fully one thing nor another, resonates powerfully and authentically with the expat's experiences of being fundamentally out of place, no longer belonging to their own time. It prompts you, the listener, to reflect on your own sense of belonging in an increasingly fluid, interconnected, and often disorienting modern world. It's a subtle but powerful exploration of what it means to be human in flux.
Now let's turn to the really sharp moral questions embedded in this novel. The Ministry's time travel program, it isn't just a clever plot device or a cool sci-fi concept.
No, it's much more.
It becomes a chilling and deeply uncomfortable metaphor. It's more than just a means to an end for the story. It's a profound vehicle for ethical inquiry that makes you question the very nature of power.
Indeed, and this is where the novel's intellectual depth really comes to the fore. It's a metaphor for exploitation.
Exploitation, strong word.
It is. The novel profoundly questions what it means to control and study people from the past, particularly when those people are completely disempowered in their new reality.
Right, they have no agency there.
Effectively none. This isn't just theoretical. It dives deep into the power dynamics inherent in studying another culture or historical period, especially when one group holds all the power and the others are essentially specimens in a grand ongoing experiment.
Specimens again, it's unsettling.
It is. The ministry's stated goal might be study or preservation, but the act of forcibly removing individuals from their timelines, isolating them, and observing their every reaction carries significant and often horrifying ethical baggage.
So it forces you to consider the line.
Exactly. When does scientific inquiry, even with purportedly good intentions, cross the line into dehumanization? And what immense responsibilities do we truly have to those we seek to understand, observe, or preserve?
It echoes historical exploitation.
It's a stark reminder of history's own exploitative tendencies, now literally reenacted within the story.
It really makes you think about the ethics of observation and intervention, doesn't it? Even when wrapped in the guise of pure research or best intentions. If you have the technological and temporal power to do something, should you? And what are the long-term, perhaps unforeseen consequences, not just for the individuals involved, but for the very fabric of time, society, and history itself when you start to manipulate its elements in such a fundamental way?
Those are the central ethical dilemmas it throws up. And amidst these weighty, often unsettling themes, at its heart, this is also described as a deeply felt, slow-burn romance between the narrator and Commander Gore.
Right, the romance element.
It's quite remarkable how the novel manages to weave this intimate, tender relationship into such a complex, thought-provoking narrative about power, history, and bureaucracy.
Without losing its edge.
Without ever losing its intellectual edge or feeling like a superficial add-on.
So it feels earned, not tacked on.
Exactly. What's particularly well done, according to the review, is that this romance is beautifully rendered without ever becoming saccharine.
That's crucial.
It really is, because in a novel tackling such heavy intellectual topics, a forced or overly sentimental romance could easily feel out of place or jarring.
Totally undermine the tone.
Instead, it shows that even a complex, ethically challenging narrative can hold a tender, believable, and profoundly human love story. It demonstrates that enduring human need for connection, understanding, and intimacy across any divide.
Even the divide of centuries.
Even the vast chasm of time. The relationship feels entirely earned, growing organically from their shared, bewildering, and often isolating circumstances, rather than simply being a forced plot point.
Adds warmth.
It adds a vital warmth and humanity that prevents the novel from becoming overly academic or cold. It gently reminds us that even in the most outlandish scenarios, human emotion, connection, and vulnerability remain a powerful and central constant. It's a testament to the fact that love can truly find a way, even against all odds.
Okay, let's revisit just how truly inventive this premise is, because it bears repeating. It's not time travel for heroic deeds or for manipulating history or even for simply solving paradoxes.
Which is where so many sci-fi stories naturally go.
Exactly. This
Yeah,
complete reframing of time travel is what makes it so uniquely compelling, isn't it?
absolutely. It's specifically time travel used not for adventure, but as a tool for exploring history, identity, and politics.
That's the core difference.
It fundamentally reorients the entire genre and forces a much deeper level of thought from the reader. It moves far beyond superficial entertainment to a truly thought-provoking and introspective experience.
It's less about the how and more about the what if.
Precisely. It's not about the mechanics of the time machine as much as the profound what if in terms of human interaction with it and its societal implications. And by making it a bureaucratic process,
Stripping away the glamour.
yeah, by stripping it of its usual glamour and grounding the fantastical in a very mundane, relatable, almost humdrum reality, it strangely makes the implications even more profound and unsettling.
Because it feels more real somehow.
I think so. You're not just swept away by a thrilling plot. You're actively asked to reflect on the very nature of history, human agency, and the ethics of control.
The book's wry humor also sounds like a significant strength. The satirical depiction of civil service absurdities and culture shock truly keeps the book lively and prevents it from ever feeling bogged down by its own weighty
It
themes.
does. It needs that balance.
It masterfully pokes fun at the bureaucracy itself, which has that very specific, recognizable British trait, and the sheer awkwardness and baffling illogic of bringing someone from the past into our often ridiculous modern world.
And this humor serves that crucial dual purpose we touched on earlier. Firstly, it makes the heavier, more philosophical topics digestible and accessible, sort of a spoonful of sugar.
Right, helps medicine go down.
And secondly, it brilliantly highlights the inherent absurdities of bureaucracy and perhaps more pointedly, the often unseen absurdities of our own modern conventions and anxieties.
Holds up a mirror to us.
Exactly. It's a key reason why it avoids feeling like an academic treatise. Instead, it remains incredibly engaging and genuinely fun to read, even when discussing serious issues like colonialism or ethical exploitation.
The laughter is needed.
The laughter acts as a necessary relief valve, allowing you to process the deeper implications and uncomfortable truths without feeling overwhelmed. It makes the experience of grappling with these complex ideas truly enjoyable and memorable. It's intelligent humor that makes you think, not just laugh.
Character depth is also highlighted as a major strength, and it's clear why. Both the narrator and Commander Gore feel real, flawed, and sympathetic.
You invest in them.
You genuinely root for them, you understand their struggles, and you become deeply invested in their individual and shared journey, not just intellectually, but profoundly emotionally. Their undeniable humanity shines through the absurdity of their situation, making their unique bond truly compelling.
And it's not just the main characters who are so richly drawn, which is impressive. The secondary expat characters are equally vivid, each contributing uniquely to the texture and complexity of the Ministry's world.
We mentioned the swordsman and the pirate.
It's exactly. The review specifically mentions a prickly 17th century swordsman and a charismatic female pirate. Imagine the sheer comedic and dramatic potential of a rigid, duel-obsessed swordsman from the 1600s trying to navigate a world of, I don't know, safe spaces and political correctness.
Or HR complaints.
Or HR complaints.
Yeah.
Or a fierce, independent pirate queen from the golden age of piracy attempting to understand modern intellectual property laws or corporate branding.
The mind boggles.
But these characters aren't just background dressing or one-note comedic foils. They each contribute significantly to the rich tapestry of the world and provide different, often surprising lenses through which to view displacement, cultural clash, and the enduring human spirit.
They add texture.
They add to the mosaic of historical perspectives encountering the present, making the world feel richly populated and authentically lived in, each with their own distinct voice, struggles, and reactions to being suddenly dropped into the 21st century.
Finally, the book masterfully builds a really strong, immersive atmosphere.
Atmosphere is key.
From sterile ministry offices to eerie time travel technology, the world feels meticulously crafted, distinct, and palpably real, contributing significantly to the overall mood and themes.
And this atmosphere, expertly cultivated through sharp descriptive prose, contributes to what the review calls a subtly dystopian world that feels disturbingly plausible.
Subtly dystopian.
Interesting, not overt.
not overtly grim or post-apocalyptic in a traditional sense. You won't find crumbling cityscapes or overt tyrannical regimes. Instead, there's this pervasive underlying current of unease and quiet menace that subtly supports and reinforces the profound ethical questions being raised about power and control.
The plausibility makes it creepier.
Exactly. This very plausibility, the way the world feels just a few degrees removed from our own, makes the speculative elements feel more real, more impactful, and more chillingly prophetic. You're not just reading about a fantastical concept, you're stepping into a world that feels unnervingly close to a possible future, making its critiques of power, history, and bureaucracy land with even greater force. It's a quiet dread that truly settles in. So after exploring all these strengths, the premise, the style, the themes, the characters, the atmosphere, what does this all mean for you, the reader, and your overall reading experience? While strengths abound, the review does point out a nuanced area for consideration.
Yeah, no book is perfect for everyone.
True, the plot sometimes meanders, especially in the middle sections. This isn't necessarily a fatal flaw for everyone, but it's something to be aware of if you typically prefer a tightly plotted, relentless thriller.
Right. And this often happens when, as the review notes, the romance and world building overshadow the main conspiracy or the central mystery.
So the focus shifts a bit.
It seems so. For some readers, this deeper, unhurried dive into character development and intricate world building will be a significant positive. It allows for greater immersion and a richer, more nuanced understanding of the relationships and the intricately detailed world.
But if you want constant plot twists,
But for those looking for a fast-paced thriller, driven purely by relentless plot progression and quick resolutions, it's a point to consider. It's a trade-off, really. You gain immense depth in character and setting, possibly at the expense of a breakneck narrative pace. It's a deliberate choice by the author, I suspect.
and whether it resonates depends on what you seeked in a reading experience.
Precisely.
Another point of discussion, which often sparks lively debate among readers, is the ending. Some readers may find the ending a bit too open-ended or emotionally unresolved.
The ambiguous ending.
Always divisive.
Always, it doesn't tie everything up neatly with a bow, nor does it provide a definitive resolution to every mystery or character arc.
And this raises an important question for you to consider. What kind of resolution are you truly looking for from a story like this?
Yeah, what you want from an ending.
While some readers inherently prefer neat, conclusive endings where every mystery is solved and every character arc perfectly rounded off, others will wholeheartedly appreciate its refusal to offer easy answers.
Which fits the themes, maybe. I think it does. For those of you who enjoy critical thinking and engaging with ambiguity, an open-ended ending can actually be a tremendous strength. It prompts further contemplation and discussion long after you've finished the last page, rather than just giving you spoon-fed solutions.
Makes you keep thinking.
Exactly. It invites you to continue thinking about the characters, the themes, and the implications of the ministry long after the book is closed. It makes it a more interactive and thought-provoking experience. It's a choice that reflects the complexities of the themes themselves, perhaps.
Lastly, a minor note, but one worth mentioning for a specific segment of the audience. The humor leans on British history and bureaucracy.
Right. The specific cultural context.
This is a natural feature of the novel's distinct voice, setting, and satirical target.
And what's fascinating here is that while this very specific brand of humor is undoubtedly a major strength and a core part of the book's charm, readers unfamiliar with these references might miss some layers of satire.
So some jokes might fly over your head.
Potentially. For instance, without knowing the specific quirks of the British civil service or certain historical figures, a quick quip or a subtle jab might go over your head. It's a small point, but worth noting for anyone outside that specific cultural context.
But it doesn't ruin the book if you miss them.
Not at all, apparently.
Yeah.
The core themes of human displacement, the universality of culture shock, and the fundamental character dynamics remain universally engaging and compelling. So even if a specific historical quip or bureaucratic absurdity goes over your head, the broader humor and emotional resonance will still connect deeply.
Just bonus laughs for those in the know.
Exactly. It just means there might be hidden delights and deeper laughs for those in the know.
So after this extensive deep dive, what's the ultimate verdict on Kaliane Bradley's The Ministry of Time? It sounds like the praise is pretty high.
Overwhelmingly positive, yes. It's
Yeah.
universally praised as an original, clever, and unexpectedly moving novel.
Original, clever, moving. That's a great combo.
That combination of intellectual prowess and emotional resonance is truly a rare achievement in any genre, especially speculative fiction.
And it blends those genres seamlessly.
It truly is equal parts bureaucratic farce, speculative thriller, and unconventional love story. This masterful genre-bending nature is precisely what makes it so distinctive, so fresh, and so important in the contemporary literary landscape.
Stands out from the crowd.
Absolutely. It defies easy categorization, weaving together these disparate elements into a cohesive, compelling, and utterly unique narrative, which is often a hallmark of true innovation and a sign of a truly remarkable piece of writing.
It's not just one thing.
No, it's a brilliant synthesis of multiple storytelling modes executed with precision and heart.
It's also described as that rare book that's both thought-provoking and genuinely entertaining, which, as we said, is a high bar to clear.
A very high bar.
It sounds like it effortlessly balances intellectual curiosity with pure reading pleasure.
And this balance, this ability to be both smart and enjoyable, is arguably its major achievement, tackling big ideas about history, belonging, and morality with humor and heart.
Smart without being dry, emotional without being sappy.
Exactly. It manages to be incredibly smart and insightful without ever feeling dry or academic, and deeply emotional without ever veering into sentimentality. It's a book that genuinely respects your intelligence while still being an absolute joy to read. It leaves you both entertained and enriched by its profound insights. It's a testament to the power of speculative fiction when wielded by a skilled hand.
So if this deep dive has absolutely sparked your interest, and we really hope it has, the review wisely recommends checking out a few other things.
Yeah, some read-alikes or watch-alikes.
Like The 7 Moons of Molly Almeida by Shihan Karunatilaka, or The 7 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton.
Both fantastic, complex novels in their own right.
They certainly give you a sense of the stellar literary company the Ministry of Time keeps. These are books that play with complex structures and unique premises, too.
And for fans of visual storytelling, the critically acclaimed TV series Black Mirror is also suggested as a strong companion piece.
Ah, Black Mirror. Makes sense.
The common thread here, and with the Ministry of Time, are stories that blend speculative premises with biting social commentary. That's the key link.
Thinking entertainment.
Exactly, making them perfect for anyone who loves to think deeply while they're being thoroughly entertained. These recommendations are all about narratives that push boundaries, make you question assumptions, and encourage you to look at the world and history in entirely new ways.
A strong endorsement indeed, culminating in a rating of 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Which is excellent.
That definitely puts the Ministry of Time high on the must-read list for anyone interested in clever, insightful, and unique fiction. Well, we've certainly taken a deep dive into Kaliane Bradley's The Ministry of Time, extracting some truly surprising facts, fascinating insights, and powerful ethical considerations that go way beyond a simple plot summary.
Yeah, hopefully we've given a real flavor of it.
Hopefully, you're leaving this deep dive with a much clearer, richer picture of what makes this book so special and why it's resonating so profoundly with so many readers right now.
Our goal is always to help you gain knowledge quickly, but thoroughly, providing those tangible aha moments that make complex topics and nuanced ideas click into place.
And this book seems perfect for that.
It really does.
Yeah.
This deep dive beautifully illustrates how speculative fiction, far from being mere escapism, can be an incredibly powerful and incisive lens for examining our own world, confronting our history, and even shaping our understanding of the future.
It really does make you fundamentally rethink how we engage with the past, and indeed how we engage with each other, doesn't it? The layers are almost endless.
Absolutely. And this deep dive into the Ministry of Time ultimately leaves us with a provocative thought to carry forward. Something for you to chew on.
Okay, what is it?
If our past is literally present and we attempt to study it by bringing its inhabitants into our time, at what point does observation inevitably turn into exploitation?
That central question again.
And, perhaps even more importantly, how does that unsettling dynamic reflect on our own modern-day interactions with different cultures, different perspectives, or even just our own collective history? Is all study a subtle form of control? Or can true understanding exist without an inherent imbalance of power?
Wow, something profound to mull over on your own as you go about your day. I wholeheartedly encourage you to explore this further.
Definitely.
Perhaps by picking up the book itself and experiencing the Ministry of Time for yourself.